London wakes before dawn on parade day, but this year the atmosphere feels electric in a way veteran royal watchers can't quite explain. The stone lions on Trafalgar Square appear to lean forward, as though listening for distant hoofbeats. The pigeons seem to swirl in tighter patterns above the moor, sensing something about to unfold that might reshape an ancient ritual. Trooping the colour has always promised drama, yet whispers on Whitehall hint that the 14th of June could mark the most suspense-filled chapter since George VI reviewed his troops under wartime skies. Is the kingdom about to witness a gentle passing of the baton, or a sovereign's determination to stand firm against the tide of frailty? No one knows for certain, and that uncertainty is pulling crowds to the railings well before sunrise. They come armed with homemade banners, field glasses, and hushed predictions. Some insist King Charles III will surprise everyone and ride after all, braving chemotherapy fatigue in the saddle of noble. Others place bets that the monarch will appear in a sumptuous carriage, signaling a new age of pragmatic pageantry. A few skeptics mutter that the entire monarchy teeters on the symbolism of this single choice. Are they exaggerating? Perhaps, but symbolism is the royal family's most potent currency. And so, long before the bandmasters raise a baton, intrigue crackles through the morning mist. The parade itself is a marvel of precision. Foot guards drill for months, their scarlet tunics pressed so sharply they could slice a shard of sunlight. Cavalry horses undergo special fitness regimes, learning to hold position while artillery booms overhead. Even the Royal Air Force pilots rehearse their flypast in full formation miles away from London, perfecting timing down to fractions of a second. Yet beneath the flawless choreography lies a hidden tension. Almost every participant is bracing for a last-minute signal from Buckingham Palace that could alter the sequence, horseback or carriage. Traditional salute or modified. When that call finally comes, the entire spectacle must pivot like a single organism. Failure is not an option, the world will be watching. But what came next surprised everyone on the inside. Late the previous evening, footmen were seen wheeling out the Irish state coach, the same glass-panelled carriage last used when Charles arrived at Parliament for the state opening. Its appearance in the Royal Mews triggered a flurry of encrypted phone calls among gossip columnists. Was the coach simply being aired, or was it being prepared for the sovereign himself? The palace offered no clarification, adding fuel to the speculation. Somewhere in the capital, bookmakers quietly adjusted the odds. To grasp why this question matters, we must rewind to an 18-year partnership between a queen and a horse. Burmese, jet black, muscle-taut, eyes bright with intelligence, carried Elizabeth II through trooping the colour from the turbulent 1960s until 1986. When that loyal mare retired, palace aides pleaded with the monarch to choose another mount, but she declined, sensing that replacing Burmese might feel like replacing an old friend. Her decision to ride in a carriage instead was practical yet poignant, acknowledging both her attachment to the horse and her own advancing age. Some feared the magic would fade without the equestrian centerpiece. Instead, the ceremony thrived, its new look becoming just as iconic as the old. Tradition had bent, but it had not broken. Fast forward 4 decades. King Charles, then Prince of Wales, grew up watching his mother's impeccable poise on Burmese and dreamed of matching her confidence one day. His first trooping as monarch in 2023 handed him that opportunity. When he emerged from Buckingham Palace gates astride noble, journalists gasped, not merely at the nostalgia, but at the subtle statement, this reign would honor heritage boldly, not timidly. Flashbulbs ignited like stars in broad daylight, capturing an image that ricocheted across social media within seconds. Yet the thrill didn't outlast the year. By January, the monarch faced a new enemy, cancer, described only as a form. Its details remain private, but insiders hint at bouts of exhaustion that would floor a far younger patient. And that's when things started to change. Engagements grew shorter, handshakes grew gentler. Physicians quietly recommended energy management tactics once reserved for elite athletes. Ride if you must, they reportedly told him, but remember the body speaks louder than the uniform. Charles, ever the realist beneath the royal veneer, understood. Still, surrendering the saddle stung. Horses have been lifelong confidants, carrying him across Balmoral's heathered trails and through the polo fields of Windsor. To step down felt like losing not just an image, but a piece of identity. While the king weighed his options, palace strategists rehearsed Plan B. If Charles rode in a carriage, who would compensate for the visual drama? The answer emerged in the person of Prince William. At the final dress rehearsal, the Prince of Wales was seen guiding his chestnut charger with near-cinematic authority, saber flashing in the light. Some say the heir will replicate his father's 2023 route, thereby embodying both continuity and evolution, the throne's future literally filling the space the present king must vacate. Will the public grasp the symbolism? More importantly, will they approve of it? Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Royal aides began leaking the tiniest hints that the carriage arrangement may not be temporary. Charles, they whisper, finds solace in the way his mother adapted, and he sees strength, not weakness, in acknowledging limits. In private, he reportedly quotes a line he once heard from the late Queen, "You don't reign with muscle, you reign with mind." Imagine the ramifications if this becomes permanent. A slimmer, greener trooping. A sovereign focusing on strategic dialogue rather than ceremonial athletics. The possibilities ripple outward like shockwaves through centuries-old marble. Meanwhile, medical intrigue lingers. Oncologists unaffiliated with the palace note that chemotherapy cycles often peak in fatigue roughly 2 weeks after infusion, precisely the window during which trooping falls. Could the timing be more than coincidence? Observers studying the court circular notice a pattern of light duties during those periods. When the monarch appears on camera, he looks spirited, yes, but thinner too, as though each smile requires a reserve of willpower most men never muster in a lifetime. And yet he insists on presiding. Is that resilience or risk? The debate divides even seasoned constitutional scholars. But the bigger question looms. How will this shift ripple through royal protocol beyond one parade? If Charles moves permanently to carriage mode, might we see similar adjustments at state visits, at Remembrance Sunday, even at the daily changing of the guard? Will the monarchy gradually transition from equestrian spectacle to something more rooted in ecological symbolism, orchard plantings, river restorations, carbon-neutral pageants? The king's decades-long crusade for environmental stewardship suggests the idea isn't far-fetched. Could this health-driven decision accelerate a green rebrand the crown has long contemplated? Late in the afternoon, reporters camped near the household cavalry barracks spot Noble being walked back to his stable, unsaddled, coat gleaming but clearly cooler than a horse fresh from parade duty should be. The sight all but confirms what many had guessed: the charger, like Burmese before him, will play no role on Saturday. Moments later, the palace releases an understated communiqué: His Majesty the King will travel by carriage during the sovereign's birthday parade. No explanation, no apology, just the unvarnished fact. Instantly, social media splits into factions. Traditionalists lament the end of an era, while progressives praise the king's self-care as a model for aging populations everywhere. Somewhere in the middle, millions simply hope he feels well enough to wave. And yet, a final twist lurks on the horizon. According to insiders at the Royal Sandringham Stud, 2 young black geldings are being trained for ceremonial work, rumored to be gifts from an overseas ally. Could one of them, in some distant future, carry a recovered Charles on a surprise return ride? The notion seems almost cinematic, an older sovereign mounting up once more in a triumphant epilogue. Likelier, though, is that they will serve his grandchildren. Prince George is already tall for his age. Princess Charlotte has her father's natural seat. Louis, fearless as ever, has been spotted cantering on a Shetland pony near Anmer Hall. The dynasty's equestrian legacy, it seems, is safe, even if its figurehead takes leave of the saddle. As rehearsal cannons boom across St. James's Park on the eve of trooping, tourists pause to film the smoke curling into an iron-grey sky. Their phones capture more than a test volley, they capture a metaphor for transition, loud, momentary, but ultimately dissipating into something calmer. Will tomorrow's spectacle likewise end in serenity? Or will the next 24 hours spark debates that echo well beyond summer? One thing is certain, when the Irish state coach rolls onto the palace forecourt, its glass sides will reflect a future as yet unwritten. And that brings us to you. When you picture a monarch, must they always sit astride a steed? Or can genuine leadership shine just as brightly behind crystal windows? Does adaptation dilute majesty, or prove its durability? The monarchy has weathered civil war, abdication, and world conflict. Will a change in riding protocol even register on that scale? Let us know below. Your voice enriches the conversation that keeps this institution alive. If today's journey into royal strategy and human vulnerability kept you hooked, tap like. It helps fellow history buffs discover our growing community. Subscribe and ring that bell so you're front row for Saturday's unfolding drama. We'll be broadcasting live reactions, expert commentary, and perhaps a surprise or two the palace hasn't planned for. Because in royal storytelling, the final curtain never falls, it merely lifts on the next act, and you won't want to miss the moment intrigue gallops back onto center stage, whether on four hooves or four gleaming carriage wheels.